that. Thank you. Katherine Harris was, of course, a figure from history. She was the Secretary of State in Florida during the 2000 presidential recount, and she joins us tonight. Katherine Harris, thanks very much for coming on tonight. So,
Tucker, thank you for having me.
For those of us who are not familiar with the intricacies of election law, the most basic question first, how could thousands of uncounted ballots appear after the polls close?
Okay, Tucker, we're a nation of laws. Rule of law is the most important bedrock in our country,
yes.
And no one can wax eloquently more than you on that subject. But the most important aspect of these elected supervisors of elections in each county, I think we have a basic expectation that they're going to operate with courage and integrity. Funny that you have to say courage when following the law, but this is a critical issue that they follow the law as it's written, not as they want it to be. And so how ballots show up late, they're going to have to explain that because there's a chain of custody. All those issues will come up as a result.
But having watched this very carefully, and no one's watched it more carefully than you have, does that produce alarm bells in your head when you see someone show up in what appears to be a settled election with a box of ballots saying these haven't been counted? Do you wonder, what is this?
Of course you do. Of course you do. And that all is supposed to be recorded, documented. There were supposed to be updates during the course of the election and certainly afterwards that Palm Beach and Broward have failed to perform. So what's going to happen is there are laws that must be followed. There are laws according to who is an eligible voter. So if someone is a felon in this election, their vote is not counted. If someone is an illegal alien, they're not allowed to determine Florida's future or the future of our nation. Their vote will not be counted. If absentee ballot signature doesn't match up with the absentee ballot on record, they're allowed to count that vote. It's the same as a bank. You wouldn't be able to cash a check.
Right.
And so these are all the issues they're going to have to deal with. They have to follow the rule of law and the law in the state of Florida. Actually, our election laws are sufficient to handle this. It's just a matter of people are breaking them or not.
What's so interesting is, given all the scrutiny that your state came under 18 years ago in the recount, to see someone in charge of recording votes in a county in Southeast Florida with a documented record of screwing it up in the most obvious ways, illegally destroying ballots, how could that person still be in charge of ballot counting?
So in Florida, the supervisor of elections and each of the 67 counties are constitutional officers. They are elected by their counties. They cannot be removed by the Secretary of State. So there is a background, clearly, that she has. I was not involved in the case.
Right.
But only the governor can remove her for cause for those actions.
I mean, this is a subjective question, but you might be someone who could answer it. How politicized is the election process in your or other states, honestly?
So honestly, as Secretary of State, when I was there, you have the media, you have your different parties that are so active, but the Office of Secretary of State in Division of Elections was not politicized. In fact, we shut it down. Republican operatives or Democrats could not come in. We met with the heads of both party initially, and then we actually hired a Democrat constitutional lawyer to come in and advise our attorneys in-house to make sure that we were following the letter of the law. We made certain that the process was going to follow the law. That was our only safe harbor. And my encouragement or my advice to these supervisors of elections would be that they must follow the law. No matter what they do, half the people are going to be very unhappy with them. But their only safe harbor is to follow the law.
Katherine Harris, it must give you vertigo to watch all this. I bet you're glad you're not involved this time around.
Well,
Thank you.
It does seem like deja vu all over again, Tucker.
I can't even imagine. Thank you for joining us tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Another man whose name you will recognize if you followed the history of this stuff, Kendall Coffey. He served as Al Gore's attorney.